Welcome to Venture with Joe and Cody, where we take a deep dive into the minds of leaders and innovators making a real impact today. I'm Joe.
And I'm Cody. And we're here to bring you the raw stories, the successes, and the setbacks that these trailblazers have experienced in their journey to where they are today.
Every week, we sit down with a new guest who's ready to share their insight and advice on business, entrepreneurship, and making a difference in their community. From local community members to industry experts, you're going to get the unfiltered truth behind their success.
So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned professional, or just curious about the business world, join us for a journey of learning and inspiration.
So let's grab a drink, settle in, and let's get started. This is Venture with Joe and Cody. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Venture with Joe and Cody. I'm Joe Skipper, the owner of Skipper Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty, and I'm with my friend Cody Wilhelm with Residential Mortgage, professional lender and
Absolute
mortgage man.
That's
yeah.
right.
What's going on?
Just living it up.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. You?
Just being an agent. That's what I'm doing, man. We've had really good things happen over the last 2 weeks, and then just like stuff hits the fan right away, and trying to deal with all that stuff. So, but it's good. It's good. It's part of the gig. That's why we get paid the big bucks, right?
That's right. Are you selling houses that are decorated for Halloween?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Nice.
That's interesting. Yeah, and it's fine. Like it's just it's hard because people have to enjoy their life. Like you can't tell people to be a bummer and not enjoy the holiday season, especially when you get to like Christmas or things like that.
Yeah.
Which I think Christmas is a little bit less intense on people than Halloween
Right.
decorations.
Yeah, some people can get a little nuts.
Yes, but Halloween decorations can get kind of crazy and dark and everything like that. So our clients are awesome, and they move stuff around to accommodate, but it's always a thing. There was one that I had years ago, and they had one of the huge skeletons. Like huge skeletons in the front yard.
Huh?
I was like, and you can't just take it down during like, hey, I got a showing, take it down. It's like, no, that skeleton will be there.
That's there.
And standing there. I was like, oh, geez.
And if you offer the right price, we'll leave it here.
Those things are intense, man.
They are.
Like in our neighborhood, oddly enough, I'm like, when did everyone start getting into Halloween decorations? Like our neighborhood is decked out. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like everyone's just and they're in the Christmas spirit too. It's like whatever season, everyone's like doing it in our neighborhood. There's like scary houses and houses that are all lit up, like looking like a haunted house. I'm like, this is intense, but we have our little cheesy bats and stuff on the door and stuff, but nothing as crazy as some people have. So
no, we don't really have a whole lot. Ours is more like fall, kind of like there's pumpkins and leaves and scarecrows and it's kind of like the whole. It goes up usually, first part of October. Yeah. And then it stays until we start decorating for Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we kind of do the cheesy ones too. We don't like, but there's, man, they have these apparently they're super popular. They're spider webs, like the big spider webs that run from a tree down to the ground. Yeah. And they're lit up. And so at night they're all purple or orange or whatever. It's like, anyways, but we don't have any. Yeah, we have people selling in this market with their decorations, but they're pretty good. They're pretty easy to deal with.
Yeah. It's not like you have to go through a haunted house just to see the inside of the house.
Picture the potential. It's like that question we had that was like, well, should I mow my yard just so people can see it? Like, I shouldn't mow my yard so people can see the potential in the house.
Right. Yeah. Is that real blood on the wall or is that just fake? I can't
You
tell.
Clean it up, you add a few $1,000s.
Right.
To the cost of the house.
We'll bleach it out.
Simple cleanups will make a big difference.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, you wanted to go over some myths in the real estate lending world, and we'll chat about them and see if these are common things or what you think of them. So let's
So
rolling,
I've got 10 of them.
Okay. See if we can make through 10, or probably not because we're long-winded.
We'll see how far we can get into them. But I know that there's a few of these that are commonly asked. There's some on here that you might get some of these questions or thoughts from people, but there are definitely a few that I think are still a myth or a misconception, right? All right. So the first one, which is probably the most common one that I still get, which I'm surprised by, but I know not everybody's looking at buying houses all the time. The first myth is you need 20% down to buy a home.
We should have like one of those buzzers.
Right?
Yeah, I think that is still a common thought. And it's interesting because I don't see it advertised anywhere. You guys don't like say it. So I'm wondering where people get it, whether that's just like, I don't know, that just train of thought. I don't know where people get that like 20% down. I know historically that is the case, but there's so many opportunities. 20% is actually like not as common, I don't think.
No. And I wonder too if it's, in our live that we did, we were talking about different generations and how they approach home buying. I wonder if some of that is just passed down from
the
parents and generations, and that was just kind of like, that's just what's been told. And unless you go find, because I feel like most of what's advertised is low down payment, trying to make it to where it seems easier for people rather than, you got to have 20% is a good chunk.
Yeah, it's like, a lot of
regardless of what amount of house you're buying.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
And I still get people that ask it, or that are like, well, we're going to wait until we get 20%, and it's like, okay, how much do you have now? And you start looking through it and you're like, that's going to take you, it took you 5 years to get 5%. Like, you're never going to be able to buy at this rate. And so,
well, a caveat to that, would it make it fact if you said you have to have 20% down to get a mortgage without mortgage insurance?
That would be.
Is that fact? Or is that?
No, because you can still do a buyout for mortgage insurance.
Okay, so it's not typically true. I'm trying to think of what that connection is of like the 20%, but 20% typically takes that out, like a 20% down, right?
Absolutely, it'll be gone. Yeah, for a conventional loan.
But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have mortgage insurance for anything under.
Right. Yeah. You can pay the piper and not have mortgage insurance, which is essentially.
So you're getting into the nitty gritty. I'm talking like, how do we just make this generic statement fact? And I think 20% down,
20% down. That's the best way to go.
Insurance.
Correct. Yeah.
Fact-ish.
So the myth is you have to have 20% down to buy.
No,
the fact would
that's
be
not true. Yes.
You put 20% down and you're not going to have mortgage insurance. Yes. As long as you're doing a conventional loan.
Okay. So
that's number one.
Okay.
So I think we both agree.
Yes.
You still don't need 20% down to buy.
We made it a fact by adding terms.
Yes, little asterisks.
Yes.
Okay, here's the second one. You have to have perfect credit to be able to buy a house.
Myth.
That is a myth.
Big time myth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't even think we need to talk much about this.
Yeah.
You can go down to.
You guys can work with people with low credit, no credit, not no credit, but you can definitely work. It's going to cost you more, right?
Yep.
But
you're going to be more limited on what you can do. Your approval will typically be reduced if your credit is really low. But for FHA, you can go down to 580.
Woo.
If you don't have any credit, you can do non-traditional credit, which we just get copies of your like utility bills and stuff, and we just kind of essentially create a bare minimum credit for you. No, it's going to make your life easier, but you don't have to have perfect credit.
Okay. Don't need 20% down. Don't have to have perfect credit. We've dealt with two myths.
We're cooking. Okay, this one's going to be applicable. It's always cheaper to rent. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess that depends on a lot of factors. It can be, depending on what you're looking for in a house to buy or a house to rent or a condo to rent versus buy. My biased opinion is that it's what the money's going to that's more important. Are you getting, you're putting money in a purchase, you're putting all of your rent into the payment of the home, which brings down the cost of the home, which builds equity in your home, which builds you wealth. The rental is throwing it to the landlord who owns the building or owns the home that now he's using your rent to pay for his mortgage, which builds him wealth. And you are sitting there in a house that, yes, you don't have to deal with any of the issues that come with home owning. However, you also are paying someone else's mortgage, honestly,
right?
And building their wealth while you do it. So, I think depends on the scenario. I think. What do you think? That's not necessarily a myth because you can get rent cheaper.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of like short term, long term. Short term, it is probably cheaper to rent, just because you might be able to rent something for cheaper than what you can pay for a monthly mortgage.
Yeah,
in this current environment. But long term, I think it is you're making money by buying a house as opposed to rent. You're just locked in at whatever the rent is. You know that you're not going to have other costs associated with maintaining the property,
which is good,
which is great. Yeah,
but you're the paying amount of money someone else's wealth,
right?
Ultimately, and people always say, like, there's a ton of people on every social media realm has these idiots, and I don't want to say they're idiots.
You can.
They go this route of like like I rent because then you can travel, you can do whatever you want. But again, that's a short-term solution, but it doesn't end up helping you necessarily in the end. Yes, renting is great because you can just leave it. You can walk away whenever you want. You can upgrade a condo, downgrade a condo, whatever you want. But again, sounding like an old man, like long-term wealth is not being built by that. You are literally building an investor's portfolio by paying them. Like, just think about that. Like someone else will now look 15 years down the road and use that home as leverage to purchase another property or to sell it and make a ton of money, and you paid it. Like you paid their mortgage down. It's like, so if you sit down and think about it, I'm a person that gets very like bitter about that stuff. Like, and I'm like, if you sit down and think about that, you're paying someone else to be wealthy. Be like, no.
Yeah.
So anyways, some people have to, but
sure.
I'm not knocking renters at all, but
no, it's a necessary part of everything. Just like getting a car loan, versus.
But if you've got money and you're just sitting around saying renting because I'm so free and I can do whatever I want, and blah blah blah, I'm like, okay, like, have fun with that.
Yeah, or you run into situations, and this is not super common, but I got a buddy that just moved into a rental, and has to have been less than a month into it. He gets a notice from the landlord saying that they're going to be selling the house. So it's like, I think the assumption is that you're going to rent, and we could rent here as long as we want, but can't control the rent cost, and you can't control when they maybe have to put a family member in
decide
there.
Decide to make money on all the rent that you've been paying.
Yes. Yeah.
They're like, hey, thanks for paying for a few years, and now I'm going to leverage that and buy something better. Like,
or something happened in their life and they can no longer be in their home, and they need to move back in that one because it's a one level and they've got a physical issue. There's a lot of variables that I don't think get really talked about because rent feels very safe. Which it's non-committal safe, but outside of that, it's interesting. Okay.
We can't really bust that myth. I don't think.
No. Here's one that is very applicable for this environment that we're in. You should always wait for rates to drop.
Oh, I hate that term. I know. Hate it. It's been years of hearing this. Like, I'm waiting for rates to drop.
Right. We've been beaten with that.
No, it's a complete myth. There is no one that can predict what rates are going to do. Not you, not any lender, not any agent, not anything. Like, we can have a trend. We can look at trends. We can look at long-term things. We can look at political decisions that are being made that may, in fact, predict things that are going to happen. Absurd to wait for rates to go down.
Yes, I completely agree.
Especially if you're renting and you have the money to get into a home. I'm not even forcing people to buy just so that I can make a commission. It's like, just think about it logically. Like, if you can afford to invest in an asset like a house, then invest in it. The rates will fluctuate through the years, but you will grow wealth, and you can always, I don't even want to say refinance down the road, because then people are like, oh, you just said refinance, and what if rates go up? And just don't even think about it. If you can afford the home right now at the rates and you're getting a good deal on the home, you're fine. Don't wait for rates.
Right. I obviously agree with you. And this is a conversation that happens regardless of the rate environment too.
Yep.
This was happening when they were in the 4s. This is happening when they were in the 2s.
COVID, like, they're like, hey, maybe we'll get to 1. It's like,
should we wait a little bit longer? What do you think? We're all the different reasons. And to go back to what you just said, it is just, is it the right time for you? Because if so, then this is the time.
This is it.
Nobody knows how to time the rate market. We don't know when we're at a low and when we're at a high.
I think we have an impulsive generation, honestly, and not to sound old. We do. Like, I think people, they want to day trade everything. You know, like, and it's easy because I think our social media, everything is built around this like immediate decision, satisfaction, disappointment. Like, everything's immediate. There is no, like, you don't have to wait for anything. There's no delayed gratification for anything. There's no nothing. And I think that they treat that same way of like, hey, maybe wait a week or two and get the housing market to tank, or maybe wait a week. And it's like, none of that happens. Like, yes, you can win, like, just like in Vegas, you can win.
Sure.
But generally speaking, you're not going to do well if you're waiting for rates. So,
and there's trends, there's things that you can look back on history and say, well, this might be happening, but there's no way of predicting what's going to happen. Here you go. This is probably something you tell your clients. You should buy the biggest house you can afford.
I don't even know if that's a myth. Like,
Yeah.
I guess you can't. Like, I don't know. Like, if you can afford a big house and you want a big house, like, I'd say go for it. But
yeah,
I don't know.
to me, that's more of like a situational. Some people just want to go,
the
whatever the
personal.
top of their comfort level is, they'll go with
Yeah.
that. But I
Yeah, it's
don't
more of a
really.
personal preference. I would say if you
Yeah.
can afford a big house, go for it. But it's
Yeah.
not as big houses don't necessarily equate to more fun. They equate to
No.
generally more work.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the big house sounds cool, but then you got to care for it. So
Right.
think about
Yeah.
that.
I tend to push people away from the max out your budget, buy the
Yeah, if
biggest
that's
house
what
you
that
can.
myth is meaning, definitely don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what you guys approve people for is, in my opinion, like that's too much. Because
I agree.
I think what you can get approved for and what you can actually afford
Mhm.
is very different. And so when Cody says you're approved for 1.5 million, you do not generally want to go to 1.5 million because you'll be eating
Right.
top ramen in your
Yeah.
$1.5 million home
Right.
and not able to do anything with your life.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, that is a myth that you should buy the biggest house that you can
Yeah.
afford. I don't think you should. I think you
Yeah.
should.
I don't think you're gonna have much of an opinion on this one, but,
Okay.
our 6th myth here is you don't need a real estate agent.
I would like, I don't even, I've said this on multiple videos, multiple people. Yeah, you don't. Like, and I'm not saying that I am a real estate agent and it might
Right?
sound like I'm shooting myself in the foot, but I don't think you need a real estate agent. Do I think it is beneficial in 98 to 99% of cases? Absolutely.
Mhm.
It's the same thing like people that'll say, should I use Open Door to have my house bought? There are definitely a time where you can just bypass an agent, get Open Door to buy your house and move on.
Sure.
People have different motivations, different goals, different stresses in their lives that may need something quick. Like you can use a discount agent, like that doesn't do anything besides just handle your paperwork. That could work too. So I would say that agents do make a difference, a significant difference in a sale to get you the most money. I think statistics show that agents, represented clients with agents, get more money out of the home they're selling and they get a better deal for a client in the home they're purchasing. Having said that, there are scenarios that I would easily tell a friend of mine, just go with yourself.
Yeah.
Sell it by yourself. You're in this scenario that, your house is super popular. It's in a super popular neighborhood. Rates are great. Seller's market.
Sure.
You can save some money by selling it yourself. So, yeah, I don't think it's a myth. What was the myth?
Yeah.
What was it? That you don't need a real estate agent?
You don't need a real estate agent.
I think there's an asterisk beside it. I think it's not necessarily false. I would say that agents do a good agent will get you the most money out of a home, but you can always go without it.
Yeah. I mean, you and I probably have seen plenty of instances where a real estate agent is absolutely necessary. It's sure you run into some here and there where it's just there's no hiccups, no bumps or anything. But for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing to jump into that, and
For
when it
sure.
comes to negotiating and
For
what do
sure.
I put here and what do I do here and who do I reach out to, like
Yeah,
that can be a very overwhelming thing.
absolutely.
And then when you run
Yeah.
into issues, that's a whole new thing. Who am I?
Yeah,
Now am I looking at talking to a real estate attorney and,
for sure. If it goes smoothly, it can go really smoothly. But I would say like even the paperwork, there's a lot of timelines and things like that can easily be missed. And again, like you don't notice it when your agent is representing you because you just go through the process and you don't hear from anything and everything works smoothly and the lender and agent are talking and everything's fine. It's when things hit the fan and that's when a good agent will help you. Even things will hit the fan and you don't even notice they hit the fan, like because
right?
the agent has protected you from that. So yeah, it's kind of one of those weird careers. Like same with lending. It's like if things go well, people think, why did I need you?
Yes.
And
Right.
the people that struggled with the transaction can be testimony to those people to say, I needed my agent. I needed this
Hmm.
lender. This was a
Right.
terrible deal. It would have gone horribly wrong if I did it myself or if I had some cut rate agent or
Yeah.
lender. I think those are the people that, yeah, need to speak out, I guess,
Yes.
because it is hard. Like, I'm not going to brag that, we're up, because you have agents on social media. I'm up all the time responding to texts and you don't even know it, like kind of justifying our
Right.
existence. And I'm like, I get it. I get kind of letting people know that we work hard, but I don't know. Like, it's a weird field. I don't want people to know that anything's going hard for them, like, or going to
I
struggle. I just want to get to the close, get them to be happy with a deal and move on.
right.
And but what comes with that is kind of that kind of, yeah. Like, did you do anything? Like,
right.
so I don't know. We've talked
That's
about this before. I don't know what your thoughts are on
yeah.
it. Like, it's,
That's a struggle I always am going through
yeah,
of I don't want it to feel overwhelming to them.
yeah,
So it's not like I want to present to them every bump or change or whatever is going on
for
when
sure.
when I know that I can fix it
Yeah.
or address it or
Without
whatever it is.
with minimal input from them,
Yes,
you
they
know?
don't need to be involved in everything, but then there are times where you might be like putting out fires everywhere to keep everything just moving along like it should.
Yeah,
But then there's times where I'm like, man, maybe I should have told them, hey, here's what I've been doing this
yeah,
whole time, like not just hanging out here, like twiddling my thumbs. But I also don't want it to be an overwhelming thing where they're like, oh man, another thing came up, or oh wow, we got to go get this or do this, and you're like overwhelming them with
for sure.
stress of what's going on, and they're feeling like at any moment this thing's going to fall apart
Yeah.
because it's like
It's a
day to day
balance.
normal stuff for us, but for them it's
Yeah, it's a
overwhelming. But
balance of keeping them involved, but keeping them not
yeah,
involved, you know?
right,
But I think if you do, like, obviously, you've been in the industry a long time. It's like if you do your job, people will come to you, and the people that did struggle know that it worked out because they were with us versus with
hmm
something else. So you're always
yeah,
gonna have the people like, I sold my house by myself in 4 days and it was perfect and everything went
yeah,
well. I don't know what you're talking about. It's
uh
like, okay,
huh,
well, you're an exception to the rule versus
right.
the rules.
Yeah. I'm going to skip over one of those. Here's one for you. The first offer you make should be low to start the negotiation. Kind of like that almost seems like in all types of buying and selling, like a
Yeah,
theory.
it's
What do you think
I
in the real
don't I
estate
don't
side?
disagree with that necessarily. I don't think there's a balance. Like it's knowing the market, not only the market, but knowing the neighborhood, knowing the home you're purchasing, knowing the price it's listed at to say, if a home is priced at $750,000, everything around it's been going for 800,000, and they just you can tell as the agent that they're just trying to offload this property and it's already priced 50K lower. I would argue that maybe it's not the best to go lower, because it'll go quickly. So you kind of have
Yeah.
to evaluate each one. But I don't, as a buyer's agent, I do say, let's try to get you a deal for sure.
hmm
There's just times that you can't do it, like the COVID market. I could not advise a buyer to say, "Hey,
Right.
go in low on this house that has 18 offers on it for $150,000 over
Right.
asking." So you have to know the market. In this market, yeah, I would say go lower to start in a comfortable zone that you can kind of start negotiations.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I feel like it depends on your situation.
Yeah,
Like as the buyer, we
yeah,
always want to go in lower, but as
for
the
sure.
seller, you're like, why is everybody lowballing me?
Yeah,
So I think you almost kind of got to just take advantage of, like you said, the market and the
yeah,
opportunity
yeah.
if you can.
What's
Great.
there? Yeah,
If
yeah,
not, then
for sure.
know your window of opportunity. All right, here we go. We got two more. The home inspection will find every problem.
No, it's a myth. The home inspectors actually are more general than I ever thought, and I'm not knocking home inspectors at all because I respect them and what they do, but they do not check for a lot. And you can a general home inspection, I say. You can go packages that'll dive deep into the home, but a general home inspection does very basic checks of safety issues and things like that. Not an in-depth. So don't blame the inspector down the road when you're like, "Oh, I found out there was some leak, you know, in the
Right.
plumbing inside the wall." They have no way to dive into that. Like some have these scanners and things to show any leaks and things like that. But generally speaking, those sort of in-depth issues that you'll find with a house, they check the interior, they check the attic, the crawl space for any mold, rodents, anything like that. But roof, general stuff. But
They're not opening up walls
they're
and
not
checking
cracking open
plumbing.
walls to check those sort of things or going into whether the electrical was wired properly, those sort of things that just don't, you know, wouldn't come up. That may come
Yeah.
up down the road. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I remember my brother, when he bought his first house, and it was one of those where inspection and everything looked great, and then they went to do some remodeling and kind of changing some stuff up, and they found a bunch of mold and like really slow water leaks going on, and like that's stuff that you're not going to find that. You're not going to be able to see that without just opening up the walls, and why would you do that if you don't have a reason to? So, not to mention you don't own the home yet.
Yep.
Okay, last one. buying is always better than renting.
I guess it's the same.
It's the flip
We
version.
said cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay. So buyer's always better than renting.
Buying is better than renting.
I would say so. Like, I would say, I'm biased. Obviously, investing in homes to me is a value add to your life and to your wealth and assets. So I think generally speaking, yes, buying is always better than renting. But there are people that have to rent. But I don't think, like we talked about earlier, is saying, oh, I just want to rent to be free and blah, blah, blah. And it's fine. If you're in your 20s, fine. But if you're doing that for a long period of time into your 30s, 40s, you're going to find out real fast that a lot of people have bought 1 or 2 homes and they've moved up and they've got equity in homes, and you're sitting there being a cool, like, 40-year-old that rented a house forever. Like,
right.
And don't have any assets and don't have any wealth. And maybe you do in other areas, but I think in the housing industry, buying is almost always better than renting.
I agree. And I think that a lot of people want to buy that forever home, the first home, and not realizing that it is definitely it's a building, stepping process of it might take you 2 or 3 homes to get to that point. But if you're sitting there renting the whole time and you're just thinking you're going to jump into this dream home out of nowhere, that's tough. And I also think too, if you realistically ask anybody that, would you rather be renting or would you rather be a landlord? Would much rather be the landlord, but then that's going to require, buying and turn that into a good rental and then buy your next place. And, it's not as crazy as what people think. And maybe that's just because I'm used to it and see it all the time, but it's
for sure.
It's not as wild. And, I think there's just this assumption that you got to have crazy amount of money to do all this stuff. And there's no way I'd ever be in that financial position to handle it. And
it's not as hard as you think.
No, it's not.
I think people think it's like this, huge, and it is a big purchase, not denying that, but it's like, it also is not as hard as people make it out to be.
Right.
And in another example, I said, if you're in your 20s and you want to rent and travel and whatever, that's fine. But my nephew is a great example of making smart decisions. He bought a 4-plex at 21, like, 3 people paying his mortgage while he lived in one of the units. Like, so like, that is a smart investment. Like, just being smart. And maybe, obviously, is it ideal to live in the same place as 4 other people? Not necessarily, but he's thinking, like, in a long term, using his assets in the future to be able to continue to build and grow his wealth. And I just think that's a really smart decision.
It is. And it'll pay off
versus renting. And I think in the short term, it sounds cool. Just I pay this much in rent. I don't have to think about fixing anything. I don't have to do anything. I go do party and travel and whatever. It's like, that's fine. I'm telling you, when you're older, and you think back on that, it's not gonna be fun to think about when your friends that were responsible, like my nephew, was like buying multiplexes, in his 30s and 40s, and you're just trying to buy your first starter home,
Right.
So,
oh man, I should have done this earlier.
Should have done that earlier, because it's not that cool. Like, not that cool to just rent all the time and do nothing. But yes, I think that is. I don't think that's a myth. I think
agree.
We can generally say that's not a myth, right?
Yeah.
But unless you have.
Yep. Yeah, and I've been in that.
Yeah.
I had to rent before I bought.
For sure, absolutely. But with a goal. But you had a goal in mind of ultimately home buying.
Right.
It's when you rent thinking, I'm going to rent till I'm 75, and
Right.
But maybe you invest in Bitcoin or stocks, and then you're like, hey, joke's on you, suckers.
Yeah.
So
like, I'll take the rental
and
then make my millions.
Yeah.
But then I'll probably buy it.
Yep. Well, okay, that was good. Those are some good myths and some good
Mythbusters.
Yeah, I know. We could make a show out of it, but it wouldn't be as exciting as the real Mythbusters.
No. I mean,
Those guys actually do stuff to, like, bust myths.
They
We're,
do
like,
some cool
talking
stuff too.
like nerds about myth busting in our nerd house.
I used to love watching that show.
It's good. But okay, man. Well, until next time, if you guys haven't already, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify and Apple. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Excellent. Have a good one.
Bye.
See ya.